Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video I have my Christmas book haul. So basically I'm going to be going through all the books that I got for Christmas and also all the books that I bought myself with the money that I received for Christmas, which I'm still counting as books that I got for Christmas. Like, that makes sense to me. So yeah, I'm going to be going through all the books that my friends and family gave me for Christmas and then also the books that I bought for myself. There are quite a few books here. I was so lucky this year. I feel so spoiled but so happy to have all of these beautiful books in my life, and I just can't wait to get around to reading all of them. I don't know what order it's going to be in because I basically just want to read all of them right now, so it's going to be so hard to pick which ones come first and which ones come next, but I'm sure I'll be able to manage. So yeah, I'm just going to get into all of the books and chat a little bit about them now, but before I do that, if you could please hit this video with a like, that would be hugely appreciated because it really supports my channel. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe for more bookish content from me. I post new videos every Saturday and Wednesday. So I'm going to start with the books I received from my family, so the ones I opened on Christmas Day. And the first book I received, well, the first two books came as a duology, and they are Vicious and Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. I have heard so much about these books and all very good things. I've been wanting to read them for so long. They've been on my Amazon wish list for so long, and that is where my family found them, and I'm just so excited to get around to reading these. So I'm just going to hold up the first one, which is Vicious. And can we also just talk about the difference in thickness of these two? Like, I don't think I've ever seen such a difference in a duology. Like, that's what, like 340 pages, and this one's like 560. Like, it's quite a huge difference. But anyway, as far as I'm aware, these books are about two guys called Victor and Eli who start out as college roommates and have a friendship at the time, I believe. A shared interest in adrenaline, near-death experiences and seemingly supernatural events reveals an intriguing possibility that under the right conditions someone could develop extraordinary abilities. And then I believe something happens and they have a fallout and Victor ends up in prison, and then we go to 10 years later when he gets out of prison and the two are like enemies now. And I feel like, I could be getting this completely wrong, but I feel like it's kind of like an X-Men vibe. Like, Eli is kind of like Professor X who wants to be good, and Victor wants like all the people with like superpowers to be like evil and like rule the world. Could be completely wrong in that, but that's the vibe I get from it. But anyway, I am so excited to read these. These will be, if I get round to them first, my first Victoria Schwab books, because as we all know, I've had The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue on my TBR for like the last 3 months, and I have been planning to read it, but I still haven't got round to it. But one of those two will be my first physical books from V. Schwab or Victoria Schwab, because I have listened to the audiobooks for City of Ghosts. Is it City of Ghosts? And Tunnel of Bones, I think, which are like middle grade ghost stories, which are like so good. But yeah, these will be my first physical books and I'm really excited to get around to them when I do. The next book that I got from my family was Where the Crawdads Sing. Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This one my mum very much didn't cover buy, but title bought. Basically, when she heard this title and, well, read this title on my Amazon wishlist, she decided that she would have to buy me this, and I'm really glad she did. It sounds like such an emotional and intriguing read. So from what I can gather, this is about a young girl called Kaya who's like called the Marsh Girl because she lives out in the marshes and is very isolated, I believe, out there by herself, and people don't really have anything to do with her. And then a young man is found dead and everyone immediately points the finger at Kaya or the Marsh Girl, but it actually turns out that Kaya is actually a very sensitive and intelligent young woman who is very lonely out in the marshes all by herself. And then when two young men from town become intrigued by her wild beauty, Kaya opens herself to a new life until the unthinkable happens. So I think it's quite a haunting, emotional tale. There's a bit of whodunit murder mystery, there's a bit of quite an eerie feel, and there's a bit of romance in there as well. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this when I do get round to it. The next book that I got from my family is one that I am so excited about, and that is The Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. It is kind of impossible not to know about this book by now if you're in the book world at all. It is talked about everywhere and it just sounds absolutely incredible. Ever since I heard about it, I have been dying to read it. I've heard nothing but amazing things about this book, and I am for sure going to be working it into my January TBR. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to go over the blurb for this one because most people already know what it's about, and if you don't, I'll leave the link down below so you can check. I do always leave all the links for the books that I mention within my videos down below, so if you ever want to check them out you can do that by just looking in the description box down below. The next book that I received from my family was Who I Was With Her by Nita Tyndall, I think is how you pronounce it. This one again was very much a cover title buy from my parents, which is probably the best way for them to do it. I have a very long Amazon wish list because I just literally chuck anything on there that I think sounds good so I don't forget about it and I can go back and look through what I do want to read. So yeah, they're not exactly going to go through all the books and read all the blurbs and everything because they're not like huge readers themselves. My dad does read a bit but not any of the same genres as I do. So yeah, cover buying, title buying is basically the best way for them to do anything, and I'm so glad they did with this one. This is another LGBT book that I have been dying to read. It follows the main character of Corinne, who is a distance runner, and her whole life kind of revolves around that, and she's like the star track runner, I believe, and no one knows her secret that she is bisexual and also in a relationship with Maggie Bailey, who is the captain of the rival cross-country team. But then Maggie sadly passes away and Corinne is left with no one to talk to about all of her feelings and her sexuality and her identity and everything, because Maggie was the only one who knew anything about that, so she can't speak to her parents, she has no friends to speak to, and she's also dealing with the grief of the loss of her girlfriend. And then she meets Alyssa, who is a stranger but also dated Maggie, and she begins to open up to her, and through that she learns a lot about herself and a lot about Maggie as well. And it just sounds like such an incredible read. It sounds thought-provoking and it sounds intelligent, it sounds emotional, and I am just really looking forward to getting around to this one. I'm kind of hoping to get this one on my January TBR as well, but I don't know how possible that's going to be since I'm doing the Friends readathon this January, so I need to make sure everything fits the prompts. So we shall see. So the final book that I got from my family was Grim Tales for Young and Old, compiled by Philip Pullman, I believe. So I believe this is a not anthology, what's the word I'm looking for? When someone brings lots of tales together, what is that called? My brain's gone absolutely blank. You'll probably be screaming the word at me right now, and if you know it, please comment it down below because it's going to annoy me so much. But like a compilation, anthology, I don't know, there is a word for it but I can't think of it. Basically, Philip Pullman has pulled together some of the best fairy tales from the Grimm brothers in this one book. I'm so excited about this. The main reason this was on my wish list is because I do want to collect as many of the Penguin cloth-bound classics as possible because I think they're just absolutely gorgeous, and the colour of this green, it's just, nothing is gonna match this on my bookshelf. It is just so beautiful. I already have Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, Dracula. I think that's all I have, and then this is the fourth one that I'm adding to my collection, and I'm very happy about it. I'm also very happy because just yesterday, the day before, Melanie from the Bookish Mel, who I will link down below, announced that she is doing a read-along, basically where she is reading different tales from this book, different fairy tales each month, and then also reading a retelling of that fairy tale each month. So for example, in January she's reading Cinderella, and then you can read Cinder or Cinderella is Dead alongside that, and so on for each month. And I am definitely getting involved in that. It feels like fate because I obviously received this for my Christmas, and yeah, I'm all about fairy tales, I'm all about retellings of fairy tales, and I'm just so excited. So that is it for the books that I received from my family. Next we have one book that I received from a friend, and that was from Spoops from Spoopy Hall. Thank you so much to her. I will link her channel down below of course, but she kindly gifted me The Humans by Matt Haig because she knows that I am quickly becoming a very big Matt Haig fan. I have read 2 of his books now. I have read How to Stop Time and I recently read The Midnight Library, which I actually have a review for on my channel because I absolutely adored that book. It was one of my top 10 books of 2020 as well, and The Humans is probably, I think Spoop said it was her favourite Matt Haig book, and I've been dying to read it anyway, so she very kindly gifted me that for my Christmas. So I'm just going to read the blurb for this one because it's quite short and simple, and I don't really know much about it to be honest, other than that it's by Matt Haig, so it's going to be good. But after an incident one wet Friday night where he is found walking naked through the streets of Cambridge, Professor Andrew Martin is not feeling quite himself. Food sickens him, clothes confound him, even his loving wife and teenage son are repulsive to him. He feels lost amongst an alien species and hates everyone on the planet. Everyone that is, except Newton, and he's a dog. Who is he really, and what can make someone change their mind about the human race? Well, that just sounds good, doesn't it? I love everything that Matt Haig writes because there's always a lot in it about like our society and the world we live in and humanity as a whole, and then there's also quite like there's often quite a lot about sort of mental healthy aspects to it and like mortality and morality and all of that good stuff. So yeah, I'm so excited to get around to this one, and thank you again to Spoops for kindly sending it to me. So next we have the books that I bought for myself with the money that I received for Christmas. So I'm still counting those as Christmas books. And the first book that I bought for myself, I cannot explain to you how excited I am about this one. I've heard amazing things about it, and as soon as I saw it I knew I had to read it. It has witches in it, which anything with witches in I just love. And this one just looks like one of the best ones that's come out in a while, and that is The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. Again, this one is very much doing the rounds on BookTube, Book Twitter, Bookstagram, everything at the moment, and it is getting amazing reviews. So basically this is set in 1893 where witches no longer exist. There are tales of them having existed before, but they are nowhere in the public eye anymore. But then the Eastwood sisters, James Juniper, Agnes Amaranth and Beatrice Belladonna, join the suffragists of New Salem. So of course there's going to be a feminist aspect to this, which I love, and I believe it says they pursue the forgotten words and ways that might turn the women's movement into the witches movement. And it says there's no such thing as witches, but there will be. So basically I feel it seems like they are working together as women to get more rights and more powers for women, but in that they are also learning the power of being a witch and finding magic and getting that involved. And I know that's like a really crappy synopsis, but even that just sounds amazing to me. I am so excited to read this book. It just sounds like it's going to be filled with like strong female characters and power and magic, and I am so here for it. I cannot wait to get around to this one again. I really want to get this one on my Chanya TBR, but it's quite hefty, and a few of these are quite hefty, so I'm probably setting myself up for failure, but we'll see. The next book that I bought for myself was With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I discovered Elizabeth Acevedo this year. I read The Poet X and I read Clapwing Land both this year, gave them both 5 stars, and she fast became one of my favourite authors who I will probably auto-buy in future. And this is the last book that I really needed to get of hers to have read her collection. The other 2 books that I've read of hers were in verse, and this one is not, so that's going to be interesting to see what her writing style is like when it's not in verse, because I loved that writing style in those 2 and I thought it really worked for those books, and I thought it meant that her writing was very like image provoking and concise and had really good meaning and points to it. So this one follows Imoni, who wants to be a chef more than anything, but having a 2-year-old daughter and being 17 and still at school isn't exactly making life easy. The one place she can let everything go is in the kitchen, where she has magical hands, whipping up extraordinary food, beloved by everyone from her grandmother to her best friend Angelica. Imoni knows though that there are rules she has to play by, and yet once she gets cooking, her passion to feed will nourish her soul and dreams too. With the fire on high, anything is possible. It just sounds so good. I love Elizabeth Acevedo's writing so far. The books that I've read of hers, they have been quite feminist, they have strong female characters, and they usually have female characters working in the face of adversity, working against any discrimination or like sexist behaviour, racist behaviour, anything like that, and I just love everything that she explores in her novels, and it sounds like she's going to explore some very similar themes in this one as well, so I'm very excited to get around to that. The next book that I bought for myself was Jade City by Fonda Lee, and again this one is all over the book world at the moment, and I just had to have it for myself. Everyone seems to be absolutely adoring this book and its sequel, which I think is called Jade War, but I could be wrong about that. I've seen a lot of big fantasy lovers hype up this book, and since I'm really getting back into fantasy at the minute, I just had to get it. I have to give it a read. This one says, Jade is the lifeblood of the city of Janloon, a stone that enhances a warrior's natural strength and speed. It is mined, traded, stolen and killed for, all controlled by 2 families equal in their power and ruthlessness. When a modern drug emerges that allows anyone, even foreigners, to wield jade, simmering tension between the 2 clans erupts into open war. This just sounds great. It sounds like it's going to be tense, it's going to be adventurous, it's going to be exciting, it's going to have like good family elements to it and kind of like gang war elements to it, but like in a fantasy setting. And yeah, like I said, I've only heard good things about this, so I cannot wait to dive in and make my own opinions. The next book I have is Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. Again, this one is being hyped at the moment. People are absolutely loving it. It's supposed to be weird and wonderful with an amazing sort of like school university setting. So this one says, during your 3 years at Catherine, you will have no contact with those in the outside world. Each of our students has been selected as someone who belongs here. You will give to Catherine and Catherine will give to you. We will not let each other down. Catherine House is a university like no other. Into its celebrated world steps Innes, a young, or Inez? See, here in Scotland it would be Innes, but I feel like it could be Inez. I don't know. But she's a young woman who welcomes the school's isolation rather than its illustrious past. As the gates close and Inez finds herself start to be inevitably seduced by its magnetic power. She begins to realise the question isn't why she chose to come to Catherine House, but why Catherine House chose her. This just sounds like spooky, eerie, creepy, tense, sinister, seductive, all of that good stuff, and I am so excited to read it. I feel like it's going to be one of those ones that I will sit down to read and just get so lost in and maybe finish within like a couple of sittings. It just sounds like one of those ones that really sucks you in, really atmospheric. I love a university or school setting. Anything written in that sort of setting is usually amazing, especially when it's like creepy sinister as well. And yeah, I can't wait to find out more. The next book that I bought was Wilder Girls by Rory Power. This one I've not heard as much about, but I have seen it on a couple of people's channels and a couple of people's wish lists. I know nothing about this one other than that the cover is extremely interesting and I want to know more. Is this the blurb? I think this is the blurb. It's been 18 months since the Raxter School for Girls was put under quarantine, since the talks hit and pulled Hetty's life out from under her. It started slow. First the teachers died one by one. Then it began to infect the students, turning their bodies strange. Left to fend for themselves on their island home, the girls don't dare wander outside the school's fence, where the tox has made the woods wild and dangerous. As it seeps into everything, they wait for the cure they were promised. But when her best friend Bayat goes missing, Hetty will do anything to find her, even if it means breaking quarantine and braving the horrors that lie outside. And when she does, Hetty learns that there's more to their story, to the talks and their life at Raxter, than she ever thought possible. Okay, I didn't know that's what it was about, but now I'm even more intrigued than I was originally because that sounds so interesting, so exciting, so, again, sinister. And it's one of those ones where it kind of reminds me of, like, what's it called? The book that was made into a film with Keira Knightley and Carey Mulligan and Andrew Garfield, where they were all brought up to be like clones and then they got out into the world and like learned what the world was about and everything. I know it's not really like that, but it's the school setting and the not knowing what's on the outside and then going out into the world and finding out what your life's all about sort of thing. That sounds really interesting to me. And it says it is a visceral and addictive thriller about survival and the power of female friendships. So again, we love a female friendship, we love a female relationship, we love a thriller. So yeah, I think I'm going to get around to this one soon. I'm really intrigued now. Okay, the penultimate book that we have in this little haul is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I've never read anything Samantha Shannon, so I've not read The Priory of the Orange Tree, but I know everyone loves, well, most people love it, and you stop saying everyone, lots of people love Samantha Shannon's writing style and her world building and everything, and I know people love this series, some more than they love Priory of the Orange Tree. So I wanted it. Again, I don't really know what this is about because I'm such an impulse buyer. If I hear people who I trust their opinion of speaking highly of a book, and also if it has a pretty cover or an interesting author or title, I tend to buy it without really knowing what it's even about. So yeah, it's probably not the best idea, but usually it works out for me. So for the past 200 years in the Scion government, the Scion government has led an oppressive campaign against unnaturalness in London. Clairvoyance in all its forms has been decreed a criminal offence and those who practice it viciously punished. Forced underground, a clairvoyant underworld has developed, combating persecution and evading capture. Paige Mahoney, a powerful dreamwalker operating in the Seven Dials district of London, leads a double life, using her unnaturalness illegally while hiding her gift from her father who works for the Scion regime. Oh, again, I did not know that was what that was about. But now I really want to read it. I don't think I worked this into my January TBR, and now I really want it to be on my January TBR. Oh, it sounds so good. It sounds so interesting. I love anything with like things that have been decreed criminal and then an underworld starting and a rebellion starting and all that jazz. I'm here for that sort of thing. And I love the idea that she is using her unnaturalness, but her father works for the government who are trying to stop it. That sounds very interesting. And again, it's a fantasy, and like I said, I've been really getting back into fantasy recently. It's quickly becoming my favourite genre again, as it used to be when I was younger, but I really got out of it after uni. So yeah, and I know that there's other books in this series, so then I'm going to have to buy them too. Okay, the final book that I have to talk about in this little haul, well, not really little haul, is Anarchy by Jenny Lee. And this, I believe, is a modern retelling of Anna Karenina, which I have not read and I have never watched any of the adaptations of it. So I feel like I'm going to have to do one of those things first because I don't actually know the story of Anna Karenina, so I feel like I won't get this as much, or I won't get as much from it and as much as like the references and everything from it. So yeah, I do need to do that first before I read this. But this was pitched as like a Gossip Girl-esque tale and a Gossip Girl-esque version of a classic, and I love Gossip Girl. I've never met anyone who doesn't love Gossip Girl, so anything that is pitched relating to Gossip Girl, I want. It says, welcome to New York's Upper East Side where privilege, partying and scandal rules. Yeah, that's got Gossip Girl written all over it. But the fact that it's like a retelling of a classic as well just really interests me. And also, I cannot get over how beautiful that cover is. Like, I needed that in my life. That is stunning. Yeah, I'm not going to read the blurb because I feel like I want to watch or read, probably watch Anna Karenina first and then dive into this. But I am excited for that when I do. So that is it for my little Christmas book haul. As you can probably tell, I am so excited about all of the books I received and I bought myself. They all sound incredible. They're all beautiful. I want to fit them all into my January TBR, but we know I can't do that. But yeah, I'm excited. So as always, if you did enjoy this video, then do please give it a big thumbs up. While you're down there, subscribe for more content from me. Comment down below any of your thoughts and feelings, and I will see you in my next one.